we're thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for coming. It's a great territory, wonderful sales. We love our vendors, a lot of partners today. And we're here to talk to Barclay. And so many people ask me, what's it like to work with Barclay? Or could I be the next Barclay Butera? And I usually stand there and think to myself, no, but it's okay. So without further ado, Barclay, everybody asks me, how did you get started in business? And how did you get acclimated into the interiors world?
I always go back and talk about my mom. I'm going to date myself, and I don't know if there's a question about this already, but my mom is like, I don't know if you remember Dallas, or Dynasty.
Right? Yeah,
but my mom is like the Alexis Carrington of my life. So it'll date me, and some of you will know what I'm talking about, and some of you won't know what I'm talking about. But she actually had a design firm when I was, from a child. And it was based in San Francisco, then moved to Palo Alto. And when I was in high school, I kind of worked for her as an intern and did the wonderful job as a librarian for the library, which is the most miserable job, I'm sure you know, in the company. And then she did about over 300 models a year. So I got baptized into the design industry doing model homes. And again, a very hard job, delivering 5 homes in 5 days, and the builder's yelling and the landscaper's yelling, and you got to be open on Saturday. And so I was kind of like immersed into interior design that way. And then I went to a year of law school and decided that my mom wanted me to be an attorney, and that did not work out at all. And so I went and opened her Southern California office in '92. So I moved to Newport Beach, California in '89, and then opened up her office in '92 and proceeded to open up my own company in '94. So I would say the influence of my mom kind of played a major role on me, and starting me in this industry.
Well, and I love that you learned the business from the ground up.
Yeah.
So many times people swoop in and they have relatives and all of a sudden they're vice presidents, and it's, the business, and you know what it takes. So that's very cool.
Oh, she would make sure of that.
Oh yeah. No, don't mess with mama.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you consider would be like your first big break? I mean, I knew you. I mean, we've known each other. We were 12 when we first met.
Yeah. That's
ages
correct,
ago.
Yeah.
But what do you think was like your first big break that put you on the map?
So opening when I was, '94, so I was like 27. So when I opened, and then around 30, I started getting national recognition. And House Beautiful came to me, and here I am in Newport Beach. I wasn't in LA yet because I eventually opened in LA. And the editor asked me to do the Bel Air Show House. And it was called the Bel Air Designer
Charity.
Yeah, but it was for movie stars. It was like the
Hollywood.
Something anyway. So, you were doing it for a client. So basically you were doing a room in this show house for a client, and then you chose your client, and I chose Eric McCormick. We did a lot of work with Eric in the original
Will and Grace.
Will and Grace.
Yeah.
And so I designed like a Rat Pack, beautiful, beautiful suite. I got the guest house. And so I did I don't know if you remember when Janice at Sea had that tent that was a multicolored tent, and I put it on the front door of the guest house, and I drew it back kind of like Morocco. And then you'd walk up the stairs and you'd enter in this like black and white and like pale blue suite with its own master bath. And this is Christine playing a role. She worked for Calista at the time, and I got a Calista bathroom, Barbara Barry glamour. So it was all this glamorous guest house. And so I had Suzanne Reinstein, I had Joe Nye, I can't even think right now. Catherine M. Ireland.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, all the LA designers, Waldorf Fernandez, and here's this little like blonde kid coming in from Palm Springs, and it says like, I vacationed to get tan. And Suzanne Reinstein comes up to me and she goes, that's an interesting shirt. And I'm like, it's kind of like this kind of clash with the LA crowd, but I fit in eventually. So what happened was we had our opening night, and I got Eric to come. And so Eric came, and out of all of these designers, and some of them were designing rooms for Brad Pitt, some of them were designing rooms for Ellen DeGeneres, like all over the place, and I'm the only one that got a movie star to show up. And so here I am, like, I'm still in that I'm still in that shot, I think. Yeah, there we go. And so here I am, like brand new show house, brand new designer to the show house beautiful, and I get Eric McCormick to show up. And so what happens, every news station, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember how big he was, but he was huge at that time. And every news station, every newspaper, everything you could imagine covered my room. So immediately I was set on the map with House Beautiful. And I proceeded to do the Brentwood Show House at the invitation of, and almost got the cover for that one. I did it red and black and white and very Hollywood glamour again. So I got to be called that like glamour boy that always was like paying attention to early Hollywood. And so, and then I proceeded on and did Chicago.
Miami.
I did
Miami. Yeah.
I did Veranda in New York. I did 3 Hamptons show houses. Yeah. The last one I did, the first one I did in the Hamptons was for House and Garden, and they gave me the entry, and the entry was massive. It was like 20 by 60, and we just knocked it out of the park for New York. And so, and that was truly like the last issue of House and Garden, which was a sad thing to see. But luckily I was involved before they went away. A beautiful magazine. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, in Miami, you got the cover too, which was so exciting.
Miami,
We didn't know.
Yeah.
So I think show houses played a major role. And I do remember getting a call. It was at Callista. And I had met him before in Atlanta, and I got this sweet little message. I don't know if you know me. He didn't know it was me. I'm in marketing and PR. My name is Barclay Butera, and I'm doing a show house. And I went, is this little blue-eyed, blonde-haired Barclay Butera? I mean, I knew him from the shows. I'm like, tell me whatever you want. We shipped it, and you got more press for us than we ever had. So yeah, that was quite a pivotal thing to put you on the map there. Okay, so careers click along, life is good. You opened the showroom in Newport Beach, which is still overwhelmingly successful. The beautiful flagship store. What prompted you to open a store in Park City?
A lot of people don't know this, but I went to Brigham Young University. And so I basically, from a young age, like the minute we could buy, we bought in Lower Deer Valley. And so we were skiers, and we would go up there and kind of like enjoy the snow and friendship and so on. And this is when Park City was a little town. And I kept on driving by this commercial building downtown Park City. And it was always for sale. And you could buy commercial condos in it. And I'm like, this would be a perfect location for my next showroom. And so I ended up buying 4 commercial condos and 2 residential condos in that building and became the majority owner of the building. And now it's called the Barclay Butera building, and it's downtown Park City. And it's very hip, it's black, and with stainless railings, and it's a very hip building, but it kind of put me on the map as the young guy that came to Park City. And and now I don't know if you know, like it's exploded. Like Park City has exploded. Now you have like 40 designers up there, and it used to be just 2 of us that would do all the houses up there. And now you have the explosion of Tiger Woods, the Four Seasons going in, and I just heard Almonds going in. So the whole idea of Park City has now changed, and it's very contemporary. So we just remodeled the showroom. We got rid of retail for the most part, brought in like beautiful upholstery, some case goods, and then made it all about design. So there's 2 very large show conference rooms in there. That's all like, don't talk to me about IT, but it was all set up. So everything's wireless, and the girls up there can work on wireless capabilities in these conference rooms. And then there's a design room where the designers are actually working. So it turned out, the remodel turned out beautiful. So if you ever go up to Park City, please go take a look at this. So.
Well, also one of the most Instagram places, because I'll have friends, they all want to stand under the sign, Barclay Butera, and everybody waves. So I see it all the time, which is really exciting. So we all remember you in your early days as like blue and white boy. And Anne Main from Traditional Homes, she was the editor-in-chief for decades. And she dubbed you the blue and white boy. Like
she put me on the cover.
She put you on the cover,
yeah.
And that stuck, and you are famous for blue and white. And I still can't see blue and white without thinking of you. Of course you are. Yeah. We could have predicted that.
Yeah.
So that being said, why don't you talk a little bit about how your style has evolved? Because now you're doing some very sleek transitional work, but it's still very signature you. So why don't you talk a little bit about
You
that.
know, I mean, I think I've evolved with the times and with my
Yes.
age, and so I think there's a maturity that's happened, and it's not Barclay as he was, you know, in '94 with blue and white toile and very Ralph and kind of like, I mean, that's really what I got to be known as, like kind of like a I don't know, like a boy Ralph, and so it really did benefit me in those days to be a huge Ralph Lauren dealer. I forgot to tell you that, but and then to have the opportunity to show off my version of blue and white and what I did for the showroom there. But we've evolved and it's become a really even the Newport showroom is very transitional in the front. We've kept our blue and white in the back because people get all upset because Balboa Island still wants it and Lido Island still wants it and the Peninsula still wants it. But we have to keep that blue and white in the back just to signature me. But the front of the showroom is very transitional, very clean. And so it's a little bit of a more grown up me, you know?
Yeah. And I'll never forget when you mentioned Ralph. About 10 years ago, we were in the Polo restaurant in New York, and we're sitting in a booth. You can't write this. And my son had said before we were going to go, "You're going to meet Ralph Lauren?" I said, "Yeah, right, whatever," because we were in the showroom. I said, "No, honey, that's not
It
what
was like
happens."
a 9:30 reservation. So like we're already, I mean, we go to bed at 8.
Yeah. And up comes this darling little man. We're sitting in the booth, and he comes walking up, and he walks straight to Barclay, and he grabs his hand, and I'm like, okay.
And he was
He's
like literally
little
like we're in a
petite.
booth that I wanted to move. I wanted to be more in the center of the
And
restaurant.
he was sitting right
And I'm
next
like,
to us.
I want to move.
Yeah.
And literally Ralph Lauren is sitting like 4 seats from there. And so like it was kind of a blessing. He and I talked. He held
Yes.
my hand the whole time, and it was a wonderful moment with him as a very graceful.
Gracious. And he recognized you right. It was so sweet. And you can only imagine my cringe pain because the whole time I was sitting like, I would kill to get a picture of those two, being the publicist, but I just couldn't bring myself. I'm like, it's just tacky. I can't do it. Yeah. But I was waiting for some paparazzi to come take the picture so I could slip them $100 and get it. You know? But I didn't want to say, "Would you please take a picture?" But it's etched in my mind. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But it was quite a cool moment. Yeah. I love that he recognized you, which was wonderful. So talk a little bit about. I know you stayed very current, and you're always coming up with new ideas and new designs for product and interiors and everything else. How do you stay current, and what really inspires you to like come out with new collections?
You know, people ask me this a lot of times, and travel is super important to me. You know, like last year, South Africa, Morocco, and I kind of like venture out. You know, I was going to be in Salone, but you know, of course, it's like it runs up to High Point, and everything's like there's always too much, and High Point's like my biggest show for licensing. And but you know, when I get my inspiration, it's through travel, it's through cinema, it's through actually fashion. And I think that like every day, you know, I could go to Venice Beach and look at the streetwear and get inspired. So I get inspired kind of by my surroundings.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And we'll be walking sometimes and he stops and I'm talking and he's stopped. He's like, "That would make a really cool piece of art." I'm like, "Okay, we've got an appointment. Let's go. So he's always taking it in this one. Yeah, it's great, honey. So after decades of being like the premier West Coast interior design guy, you go into licensing. And it's been quite a journey. Yeah. We've had a lot of fun. What inspired you to get into licensing, and how did that start? How have you evolved? And I guess what I'd say is what's next on the docket.
So you know, it was wonderful because I opened up an LA showroom, and I opened on La Brea and Beverly, and I had 2 stories, and it was 8,000 square feet, and Art Digest did my opening. So you had like the president of Baker that flew out, and you had like Henredon that flew out, and all the big guys from High Point flew out, including the Kravitz family. And so really that was the beginning of being recognized for what I do and what I did what I do in the field of interior design. And the Kravitz family recognized me as a really good potential license for them. And I ended up taking them. At that time, I owned Desi Arnaz Jr.'s house. So again, the Hollywood aspect of my life. And I took Carrie and Lisa up there, and then we entertained on the deck and had drinks, and then kind of took them. We had a showroom at the PDC, and then I had the showroom on La Brea, and they got a good feel of what I was and or am. And so they were the first to sign me, and they signed me like 25 years ago, and my first collection was 4 books with them. So I'm on my 14th collection, and I think I've had 12 books with them. So they were the first that believed in me, and from there it kind of trickled down into other licensing opportunities, and now we're at 14 and growing still. And I remember telling Steve Prada, who's the executive VP of Kravet, that when I signed with them, as I said, I want to be like Barbara Barry. I said, she's a silent giant, and she's achieved a lot in this world, and this was, I was young, and I think that I achieved my goal.
It's like when people say to me, "I want to be Barclay Butera," I'm like, "Keep at it."
Yeah. So
That's great. So as far as licensing, you've covered pretty much all the interiors. I mean, you've got rugs and lighting and accessories and magnificent furniture, and you've got the whole gamut. What's next on the docket for you?
I don't, it's the sky's the limit. I just went to KBIS, and that kind of opened up a new idea for me in the whole arena of what's going on in interiors and how it translates to the kitchen and the bath. And so I thought that was, and NAHB, National Association of Home Builders also. There's a lot of things that I can do as a designer, and it doesn't just apply to interiors. So you'll see what I kind of dreamed up, and we'll see what happens from those 2 shows that I went to. But it's just, my mom used to speak at NAHB all the time, and then I go to NAHB probably the first time in 30 years and meet a lot of builder-associated ideas. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And also, like, all these years, how many times has my phone rung and you're laughing hysterically? And you're like, oh, wait to hear what happened. I think these people would love, because I still love hearing them and they never get old. Like, do you have any funny little anecdotes or any stories about crazy client installs or something that you can share with everybody? Because
she's leading me on.
I'm leading them right on. I got to get some of the juice out. Yeah.
So I have a lovely client, and her and her husband are just lovely people. And I've done their desert home, I've done their West Hollywood home, and I've done their beach house in North Orange County. And so when we were installing West Hollywood, this lady is like you talk about a difficult client. I mean, this lady looks at every piece, looks at every scratch, looks at every chip, looks at, I can't imagine if we're delivering 50 pieces of furniture, she is like screaming if it's not right. And so she wants me to be on installations, and I tend to not be on installations because I don't like that experience, and I like to come and do the final walkthrough, Well, I've learned, hey, I've got 16 interior designers, they can do the install, and I'll come and do it.
You come take the bow. Yeah.
So anyways, so what I told, her husband's name is Nick, and what I told Nick is that I'm going to take his wife to the Ivy, and we're going to do the install while we're at the Ivy having vodka gimlets. And so I went to the West Hollywood home, and we were getting ready for the install, and the whole deal was we had 3 trucks waiting on the outskirts of West Hollywood. And then I called my lead designer. We get into a convertible Ferrari, and she's like driving, off with her nails and the whole bit. And I call Lois, and I'm like, Lois, now.
Get in there.
Get those trucks in there and go. And so we were at lunch for 2 hours, and they installed this entire house in 2 hours. So she was already a little bit tipsy when we got back. And so it added to our ability to have a really nice install. And I think I had to repair 1 piece on that install. So it was heaven sent, but I had to think very creative with that client. So yeah.
And she's still
had some other crazy clients, but that was I still hang out with. So yeah, I'll tell you that story.
Well, on your 7th house, I think it's gone well. Haven't you done 7 for them? I think so.
No, for another client.
Oh, for another client.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. But we all know, the behind the scenes, how fun that can be, a little crazy. How about giving everybody some advice? We've got a lot of really amazing veteran designers here, which we appreciate you and all your hard work. Some of the startups, I'm sure they look at you kind of like a little icon. Is there some advice that you can give as far as business, PR, like how to advance your career, how to advance your brand? What can you share with these people?
I think it's being you. Like if you're not you, people are going to figure it out. So, and if you go and sign a deal with somebody and they see that maybe you don't have the talent that you portrayed and so on, and it's also having a good team, a good PR person, and having a really good corporate team. We have thank the Lord, only 37 employees now. It sounds like a lot, but in '08 I had 132. So thank the Lord that I'm 37, 2 locations.
Yeah.
So down from 7, I used to have a location in New York. So I was a big dreamer, and then the dream has been achieved, but it's kind of like, I'm not slowing down, I'm just focusing differently. And I think that if I had the advice, it's be you and focus and love what you do. And I love what I do, and it shows. So, I don't know.
I'm going to give you a little PR advice. Make sure, I don't care if you do a powder room, I don't care if you do a window treatment, whatever you do, have it professionally shot. Because without your film, I have so many people call me and they're wonderful. And I work with startups, I work with middle of the roads, I work with superstars. And they'll say, it's nothing sadder when somebody says, I did the most beautiful living room on blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, can I see it? And it's in their mind, well, I've got an iPhone shot. I'm like, just take the extra time, spend the money, shoot whatever your work is. Then you'll always have that collateral. I'm getting a project published now for another client that she shot 5 years ago. And we pitched it, it didn't go anywhere. All of a sudden, it was the perfect fit. So shoot everything, keep a catalog, keep all your product, honey. It's the most important thing. It's your work product is what it is.
I just finished a project for myself in Palm Desert, and it's at a little community called Marrakesh. And Marrakesh is like this pink and white. You have to buy the paint from the HOA. I mean, it's so controlled. And Tebow actually sponsored all the wallpaper. So it's got 6 wallpapers in a 2-bedroom condo. And I have a big house in Palm Springs, but I rent that, so I can't disrupt the rental. So I bought this place in Palm Desert, and it's really like going back in time. It's it's incredible. But I shot it, and when I shoot it, it's very important that you shoot front to back. So you shoot the front of the house, you tell a story, and then you go through the house telling the story, and then you shoot the backyard as it is. You know what I mean? So we shot it with me in the back. But these are the ways that you can actually get published easier, because you're telling a story, and when you submit it, the story is already apparent,
right,
on the residence. So I would highly recommend that's the way you shoot.
And always get a professional. There's so many times I'll see a beautiful image and their friend shot it, and you can't go back, especially after a year after an install. You just can't go back and capture the magic. So always put it in your contract with your clients. You reserve the right to shoot it. That's really important, because sometimes it gets down to the wire and a magazine wants it, and the client's like, no. So have those discussions up front. I think that would be really important, and that way you spread your brand and your name, and your work gets out there and people see it. We've got wonderful partners at Lux. We've got wonderful partners at magazines all over the country, New York, of course, and they are so supportive. When you send them great product, you're a slam dunk. When I send them a project front to back that's professionally shot, it's like, when can we have it? So,
and people always talk about Instagram. And so if you have a new project that you're shooting, I asked Pam Jacarino, what do you get upset about when we go and post? Because obviously posting is important to our career. It gets fresh, it's fresh, and people watch it. And she says, I don't mind if you do close-up shots of the residence. So if you do close-up and tight shots of the residence and not tell the whole story on Instagram, then I'm much more prone to publish it than I am if you show the whole story on Instagram. So,
yeah, even the whole room, that's a no-no. Do little vignettes, nice and tight.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, you've had amazing partnerships over the years, and one of the things, as long as I live, one of the best things we've ever done was Rolls-Royce.
Yeah.
And it was a great situation, because you were at a function for a yacht company. You met some folks from Rolls-Royce. They actually wanted to do a party with you, because you're kind of the party king out in Newport Beach.
We did my 25th anniversary with Rolls-Royce.
Yeah. And so they called afterward and said, we'd love to do another party. And we were talking a little bit, and I said, well, how about if Barclay designs a Rolls Royce? And they're like, we would love for Barclay. I mean, and the best part about that was Karl Lagerfeld had approached them like 2 months before, and they turned him down. And you just knocked it out of the park, and they fell in love with you and your style and your brand. So you were able to design a bespoke Rolls Royce, which was such a thrill, and it's magnificent.
And they flew me to London, and actually, the way I got to know them is I was doing an event for Hinckley Yachts on Nantucket, and I've never been to Nantucket. And we fly there. I'm flying to New York, and then I'm flying directly to Nantucket, and then it gets to be like 2 a.m. in JFK, and I know I'm going to get diverted, and it's because of the fog. And so I have to fly to Boston, and everyone's like sleeping on the floors in the Boston airport, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So I hire a cab. Uber wasn't around yet. I hire a cab to take me all the way to the port that takes me to the ferry to Nantucket. And I'll tell you, getting chills was getting on that ferry and riding into Nantucket and seeing this beautiful, beautiful island. It's just spectacular. But I actually developed the relationship because Rolls-Royce was the sponsor of vehicles for Hinckley Yachts. So I was there to judge the best Hinckley yacht, and then I meet corporate Rolls-Royce, and then it goes on from there. So you never know what you're going to do in life. And it really takes you to another place, because if you go in and you Google me, Barclay Butera Yacht on Wheels, Art Digest did an article, and really I modeled it after Chris Craft. And then who called us last year?
Yeah.
Chris Craft.
Yeah.
It didn't work out exactly. It was their 50th year anniversary, and I don't think we could move fast enough for them. But I could have done something with Chris Craft. So I tell you, it's organic, and I don't push it. You know what I mean? It's like it happens as it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like licensing too. A lot of people want licensing agents to put their name and their information in a book and go from vendor to vendor to vendor. And I just won't do that. I always say to people, you know what? It should be organic. You weren't even thinking about licensing when you and Kravitz met.
Yeah.
And you call me up and you're like, we're going to do fabrics. I'm like, that's great. If you are interested in that, you should get to really know your best vendors and develop those relationships. Usually the sales folks are the ones that say, you're got the most amazing collection with Lexington Home Brands. And you worked with the guy in sales, and it just finally worked out about 5-6 years ago. I think you're on your 7th collection.
Yeah, 7th collection, High Point, yeah.
Yeah. So just develop those relationships, and the sales folks, when they know it's always about ROI. So if there's ROI involved, they'll get you in the game.
I mean, if you look at this small little relationship that we had that ended up being this license with Lexington Home Brands,
right,
has now turned into almost 500 indoor SKUs. Right. So the largest furniture license in the world because of that relationship. And it was organic. It wasn't planned. So pretty spectacular. Yeah.
And we've got 3 partners here. We're really excited. We're so appreciative. Eastern Accents is here. You do their bedding and pillows. Left Bank Art. Yeah, I know. That's what I think we're going on 15 years with them.
Yeah.
Left Bank Art is here.
The next after Kravitz.
They were no, I think Bradburn wasn't it?
Bradburn?
Bradburn and then Eastern.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
And then Fine Art High and Crafted Lighting, we just launched with them for your couture collection. So it'll grow on its own if you're a good
Left Bank
partner.
Art.
Yes,
Left Bank Art and
yeah.
Fine Art and
Yeah.
Eastern. Okay, you already said it.
But this one
don't want to
is
forget anything.
yeah, we don't want to. But this one is also very involved, and he's super supportive. So doing this, it's nice. He can go to the different booths. We're going to do a little book signing over at Eastern Accents a little later. You can get around and see your partners. You are an active participant, and so many people just want to put their name on product, get a check, and go home. And that's not how we roll. And I think that's why you're so successful. Is nobody works harder for their partners than you do.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is really cool is you are on, is it your 7th book that we did? 6 or 7?
This is 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Why
this
don't you
is the
talk a little
photography
bit about, this is from your latest book.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about getting published and how that all went down. Remember Osceline?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, choose your partners. I chose Osceline in the beginning, and wonderful book company, really wonderful. I mean, we all know Osceline. It's just that, I don't know how to say it, but the president, the owner, Prosper, and I didn't really see how my book should be published. It was my first book. So here I am trying to put my stamp on it, and then a huge publisher's trying to put their stamp on it. But then we published this book, And I have this grand idea because it's the opening of Celine in America at the Plaza when the Plaza just opened up. So I'm like, I'm going to do my first book signing at the Plaza at the Celine store, and I'm going to shock Prosper, like shock him. So we did a huge invite that was like engraved with gold, you know, with like a huge crest on it, inviting everyone to this to this book signing. And there's a staircase that goes up to Celine when you go to the lobby. And literally, we couldn't stop the crowds from people lining up that staircase to get to me to sign a book. Mind you, it was a $17,000 champagne bill that I was finished, but we got like 500 people to show up to my book signing, and we had to hire additional security because of the amount of people that showed up. So I showed the publisher a lot about what I could do with my first book. And then Gibb Smith has been a huge support with me and has supported me on the next 5 books. And again, a smaller publisher, but like I get along with them super well. You know, a lot of people pay for their books. I don't pay for my books. So it's a lot of, I don't know, I think that it's a great relationship that I've developed with them. So, and now they've done a lot of interiors.
Yes, yeah.
So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite story about that Celine book signing was the managers at the store. You know, they're very important and they're very French, and we know nothing because we're very bourgeois and we're whatever. So we're kind of getting ready the day before, and the guy's like, just so you know, we typically have 75 to 100 people. And I was like, great. And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound, he was bragging, you know, I'm okay. When we got close to 600, I was like, just so you know. I'm like, my guy pulls them in. We were dizzy, and we were all happy. You're right. Next day, you're like, oh my God, I just got a bill for $17,000 worth of, because you had to buy it from the Plaza.
Yeah.
And I said, well.
It was worth it. It was worth it. Yeah.
There's your $17,000 party. But yeah, it was fun to see that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So is there any other advice or anything you'd like to share with the audience here? I definitely would love you guys to get around to see all of our partners, and we're going to take some questions and answers. But what would you like to close with, Barclay?
I'd like to thank Lee. You know, I think he's done an incredible job. I did this in Seattle, which was, what, Lee, number 2? Lee?
Lee's ignoring us. He's
Seattle
like,
number
those 2. Seattle was the second one, wasn't it?
Right? No. When I showed up for Seattle, that was your number 2 show, right?
Second one. Yeah.
So now I'm here. How many has it been?
This is 8?
Yeah. So I was involved early on, and this man doesn't stop. There was a gentleman that got me the deal with Kravat. His name was Sid Goldberg, and he reminds me so much of Sid Goldberg. And Sid Goldberg was like death of a salesman. Like, he didn't stop. So you remind me a lot of him, and that's a huge compliment. So yeah. So I want to thank Lee a lot for this. Yeah.
Yes, we love Design Edge. Okay, I think what we'd like to do, I mean, a lot of people usually have some pretty good questions for Barclay. Is anybody got anything in particular that they'd like to ask him today?
No, there's a mic back there.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to walk around with microphones. There was a lovely young lady there.
Skating over. So I already talked to you a little bit. I'm a huge fan. I met you in Atlanta like 20 years ago, and I've been to Park City and Newport. Have all your books.
Great.
So definitely a mentor and just an idol of mine, actually.
Thank you.
But my question is, now that you've talked about Eric McCormick,
Yeah.
I was a huge Will and Grace fan back in the day.
Yeah.
Did you do his apartment on the show?
So this is interesting how I met them, is they rented all of the furniture off-site from us. So if you see anything that is off-site that's not part of the set, it was rented from my company. So that's how I got to know Eric. Yeah.
I love the style back then, and
Yeah.
loved it.
Well, ironically, too, we didn't even know this was happening, but when I worked with Callista, I got a call from the set, from the producers, and we had a kitchen island that we designed. So we did that kitchen island install. It kind of all came full circle. It was nuts. We got to fly out and watch one of the shows. It was fun. Yeah. But then I found out you were doing the furniture. It was like just a crazy world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally remember the set. I can remember all of it.
Yes, that's great.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for having us. Anybody else? There we go. Great.
Hi, welcome to Arizona.
Thank you.
I would like to know your thoughts about two things: healing environments and biophilia, bringing nature into the home.
It's interesting, and I cannot remember the name of the company that does the wellness, actually like the air and the lighting and everything that goes on as you walk in, and it senses your mood and it dims the lights, and it's like pretty incredible system. I mean, it's very, very expensive, but I had the opportunity to work on a house in Newport Beach that had that. And I understand like how important it is. We just did an install on the peninsula in Newport Beach, and the basement is all a wellness center. And these people are probably 75. And so it's very important for them to have this kind of yoga, massage area where they can like relax, and it's all very zen, the basement. And it's kind of like their own spa. And I think it's super important now. I think that with our lives are like so, like there's so many things going on, and there's so many things that are like, surrounding us and keeping us busy. And I think it's important to take out the time for yourself. And I think it's important that when you bring this up, it's a major issue in our society, and taking care of yourself should be first. So, yeah.
Well, I think part of your style, as we talked about how you evolved, you used to have it was a lot of stuff, and it was beautiful and full. Now everything's very serene and transitional. And you always say, like, I try to eliminate the chaos from people's life. And I think it's more important today because, like you said, there's a lot of kooky going on. So it's pretty
People
important.
live simpler, and I think that's a good expression of like, like not downsizing, but like making your life simpler. And I think that's the way people live now. So
Stuff is stuff.
And do you feel that bringing nature into your home adds to that as well?
yeah, it's actually in Park City. It's like number one. Like that's what they go there for, is to bring nature into their home. I mean, that's why you see these like huge homes, and it's all glass and wood and steel, and it's all about nature. So.
And what I'm hearing you say too is that it's really a holistic approach to living.
Correct. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
why I brought up that system, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's a holistic idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just went to a home in Park City. It was being built out in Promontory. I don't know how well you guys know Park City, but someone was building it wasn't that big of a home, like 10,000 square feet. And I say that because Park City has like massive homes. And so it was all kind of a mushroom roof. I don't know if you know, like the Bob Hope house in Palm Springs, how it's a mushroom upon a mushroom. So it just like radiates over and over. And this one cantilevered out. So like all the rooms floated and in nature. And they were at 30 million in construction costs already. And they were 2 years late, and they had oxygen tanks they set up in the garage to pump in fresh oxygen into the house so that the altitude wouldn't affect them so much. So to them, wellness was everything, but 30 million in construction, and it was an unbelievable house. But like, yeah, it's funny money out there. I'm telling you.
And I think he lived a long, healthy life.
You live a long
what I
life.
know of him,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, my mom's 83 and still working.
Wow.
So still takes projects. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, honey.
My question is, at what point in your career, thank you. At what point in your career, because you are a designer, did you feel it was necessary to have a PR person involved?
That was, Christine actually started her PR company when she left Callista, and really I was her second client. And it kind of
20 years.
Yeah, so it really kind of it morphed, and I didn't really understand how important it was. There was a publicist that I hired for my opening of the New York showroom, and I think that the combination of him, who was crazy, absolutely crazy. I don't know if you know Corey Hay, but he's like, whoa. But anyways, he set me on the map in New York, and he was really good, and they worked together great. But it taught me the importance of getting like another person to promote me. And so I wasn't all about promoting myself to get let like a liaison promote me also. So yeah.
It's
It
much
is-
easier to let somebody else kind of brag about you.
Yeah.
And it's very hard when you're the star. You are the least egotistical person in this business. You are so grounded and so gracious. But when you're talking about yourself a lot and people ask a lot of questions, the PR person can kind of serve as a buffer a little bit. And I can say all the wonderful things about him that are true without it having to come from him.
Without
So
sounding arrogant,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it can be a couple years in. It can be 10 years down the road. It can be, I've helped people that have just started their business. It depends on what the goals are.
I see. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I noticed that most of your rooms have white or really soft colored walls. Can you elaborate on that?
I think, if you came to my house in Newport, it's all white and lots of paneling, and it's something that I think is fresh. I used all this wallpaper in the Palm Desert residence, and it gives me kind of like I went back to the old days when my house in Newport was all wallpapered, and it's a different experience, going into a house that's all white and kind of like let your mind be free, and then having an abundance. And I did it, and it's beautiful. I mean, when you see it published, it's spectacular. And Thibaut was so generous with me. I think that white is, I own a lot of residences, and so that house is like the baby, and that's where I go home to, where we go home to. And so it's important to me to have like a freshness. That's where the dog is. That's where the pool is. That's where, life, that's where I live my life. So that white kind of like calms me at the end of the day. So, yeah. And that's why I do a lot of projects with white. So, yeah. And, if people ask white, simply white, Chantilly lace, I kind of like have my go-tos for whites, depending on what I'm working on. So.
Right.
Thank you so much for the inspiring photos that you're sharing with us. And I have never aimed towards blue, but I think I'm rethinking that. What inspires you, or how do you pick the right shade of blue? Because you have so many blues that you choose from. So where's your jumping off point? How do you choose that color?
It really depends on the client, to tell you the truth. I remember I was doing the CEO of Black & Decker, and I was doing his montage house in Laguna Beach. And, you're talking a pretty strong ego, and, but a very, very nice man. And we go and we kind of lay out, and we do kind of sea glass color tones, because he's right on the beach. And, this is like back in the days, he's spending like $29 million on his house. And, I want it to be like a real beachy house. I mean, he's buying in the Montage residences, and so it's all about that. And he comes in with his wife, and he sees the full layout, and he walks around, and he says, "Barclay, I want you to look at what I'm wearing." And I said, "You're wearing an Oxford cloth, blue shirt, and khaki." And he goes, "That's the house." So I had to redo the house and do it blue and khaki, but I gave him what he wanted. So really, I'm steered a lot by the client, and obviously people come to me for it, but blue is, I think it's that soothing color that we all love, and I've done crazy things. I've done like Cole & Sons wallpaper all over that Des Arnaz residence, and so I went back to like the 50s and the 60s, and I've done like wool shag 2 inches high in that house, and then in West Hollywood, I did like red walls, hunting coat red. And so I've done every color and lived in that environment. But I always go back to those soothing colors that you see in actually, I think my house is in there too, yeah. So, but you see how I live now, and with that kind of like fresh where I can breathe, yeah. So,
This is great.
yeah.
How do you see the AI industry as it's going now? We're all being exposed to it.
That's a great
How do you
question.
see it going to affect this industry?
Well, so my partner is like huge in AI, and I had to sign a contract that was 60 pages long, and my attorney will normally read these documents, and he did read the documents, but he scanned it into AI, to ChatGPT, and we said we were concerned about the following items in the contract, and literally, in like 5 minutes, it spat out like every single concern and what I should be worrying about, and the actual the page, the letter number, the number of the paragraph, and I'm like, this is crazy. So to tell you the truth, I don't know what the future is in AI. I'm not a tech guy. I have a lot of employees that support me in that way, and he does too. He supports me in that. But for me, it might be the generations younger that are going to be using that more than me. I still like tactile. I still like to touch the fabrics. We don't do color boards. We lay out the fabrics on huge conference room tables. This gives people a depth and a feel of their home, how it's going to feel. I don't think technology can ever replace interior design and the passion that we have for fabrics and art and the depth of what's going on and lighting. And it's so important. So the AI question, I think that
No, I agree with you.
yeah. So
Well, because we see it both sides, on the residential side and on the commercial side.
Yeah.
It's still, you have to touch it,
Yeah.
feel it, and let the client touch it and feel it.
I type in design a Barclay Butera living room, and I look at it and it gets so close to what I do, and I'm like, holy shit, this is scary. It's really scary, yeah. So you guys have never had so many questions. So
Yeah, I was going to say, what a great audience.
We're a
Wow.
curious crowd. Hi. First off, we're from the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, and I'd be happy to have you visit Taliesin West if you have any time while you're in town. My question is, what kind of expectations do you set for your licensing partners as you create an agreement?
I set my own expectations, and they're usually very high. So I don't want to disappoint, and I'm fast. So I think that people appreciate what I can design and how quickly I can make decisions, and I don't go back. So I have developed a confidence in designing products, and the way I design is I move forward, and I don't rest on anything that I might have made a mistake on. We all make mistakes, but I just move forward. And so the integrity and the expectation of myself is setting the bar much higher than probably what people expect from me. So, and that's why I don't sleep.
Thank you.
One more up front.
This is fantastic. These
Yeah.
people are wonderful.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was really great to hear. So I work at a custom residential company, Christine Company Architecture. And, as architects working with interior designers, how would you go about thinking to blend interior design and the architecture of the home seamlessly?
To tell you the truth, a lot of times, and this is me as the proprietor, but a lot of times I'm asked to develop the team. So to develop the team of the architect and the builder, and we all work as a triangle balanced. And so I'm very involved in making sure that the architecture is honored and that the builder goes and honors what we did, what we designed. So I like being involved from the very beginning, if possible, but there's only a few of us that do ground up. I'm a licensed general contractor in California, so I really appreciate the whole process of designing, and so I'm a firm believer in honoring the architect's vision and only enhancing what his vision is. Yeah. So yeah.
We'll do one more.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. I was just curious if sustainability is playing an important role in your clients' designs, if any of your uber high-end clients are requesting more sustainable products or LEED certified projects.
And I think that it's a really important topic. What is hard about it is you've got to have the budget to make it a LEED home, or to buy the products that honor that, the drywall and so on. Like, it's expensive. And so if you're going to live like that, you have to invest in it. And so that's what you kind of have to convince your clients is that if they want to live like that, it's an investment. So I'm very, very, I believe in it so well. My partner comes to me the other day and he tells me, if we drink out of plastic too much, it gives us dementia. And so now he drinks out of stainless,
Now we know why we're crazy with the water bottles.
And so now it gets me drinking like this, and then I'm always paranoid that okay, I shouldn't drink out of plastic just for the environment, but now for this idea. So he puts an idea in my head, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, the environment, and, so anyway, yeah.
Let's give it up for Barclay and Christine.